This episode is brought to you by Ursa Minor Outfitters. Folks, I'm absolutely in love with my loon mug. It's handmade, it's an absolute piece of art. Whether it's at the office or at the house, people keep asking to check it out. If you're not a loon fan, they also have other beautiful mugs for wildlife fans of moose, bears, and eagles. They specialize in products highlighting the outdoors and local pride through quality design by local artists. They've even started expanding into items beyond mugs, like apparel, dog accessories, and soon candles and more. They also try to partner and highlight other small businesses, and in some cases, forego profits in lieu of charitable giving to help their community, such as the dog rescue. So check them out, UrsaMinorOutfitters.com, and enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And for our four-legged hiking partners, they also have a portable silicone dog bowl and also a sweet over-the-collar dog bandana. Go check them out, UrsaMinorOutfitters.com, and don't forget to enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Welcome, everyone, to the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I'm your host, Ivan, and together we'll embark on a weekly journey connecting with extraordinary hikers from all corners of the U.S. and beyond. Throughout these spring months, we've had the privilege of conversing with remarkable individuals. Their experiences and adventures will leave you yearning to hit the trails. In our Season 6 premiere, we're heading back down to Southern California to speak with an inspirational hiker and founder of Hiking on Purpose, who's helping make a difference one hike at a time. Her name is Yvonne, and you can follow her on Instagram at THEVON3ONLY. Yvonne shares with us some of her favorite places in and around Southern California, including Mount Baldy, the origin story of Hiking on Purpose, and her inspirational story of getting back on the trails after an injury. Without further ado, let's jump into this episode with our guest, Yvonne. Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I'm really excited to be kicking off Season 6 with an amazing hiker from SoCal. She is an incredible hiker that also has her own hiking group, and I'm excited to hear about how she was able to get that formed. Yvonne, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. For listeners that haven't had a chance to follow you, could you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm Yvonne. I am the founder of Hiking on Purpose, and it's a co-ed hiking group. Funny enough, I started hiking a little later in life in like my 20s, my mid-20s, and then I just happened to fall into, some groups and leading hikes. And that's when I decided to be the founder of my own. But I have been hiking for about 9 years now, give or take a couple years from an injury. But yeah, and Hiking on Purpose I've had for about 7 years.
You live in a very diverse place because I feel like SoCal has a little bit of everything from desert hikes to some great summits. And then you also have the Pacific Ocean right next to you. How would you describe the local hiking scene in and around your local trails?
Oh, that's a great question. I really love the colors, especially during the spring and everything just becomes so vibrant. We have so many trees in a lot of our areas, which is one of my favorite things to really be surrounded by. A lot of habitat and grasslands, just like anywhere, good little area with fresh water. I really feel like there's a little bit of everything for everybody. You're a hiker, biker, runner. We have also a lot of community out here with horses, so we get to see that a lot around here.
Oh, wow. So there's trails that are multi-purpose for even horses to be on?
So yeah, the same trail, like for example, Cedars Canyon in Orange is one of my favorite spots to go to for a nice 6-miler. Those trails are very open to everybody, so that's pretty cool.
With SoCal being so vast, and California being so vast as well, are there any favorite places that you like to go hiking in Southern California?
Yes, definitely. I mentioned Cedars Canyon in Orange. That's about 340 acres of coastal sagebrush, freshwater marsh, grassland, and really beautiful habitat. I want to say it's one of my first local hikes I've done here in Orange County because I'm out in LA a lot. Even though I'm in an Orange County-based hiking group, I am trying to focus more on, more local hikes. But that one was one of my first ones. It's actually my first trail that I did solo hiking, and it's really great with incline for sure. So I've used that trail to train for some of the bigger hikes I've done, but that's definitely one of my favorites. And it's the view, it's like the San Gabriel Mountains. And it's also known for some of its wildlife, including bobcats, which I've never seen, but it's noted. Definitely coyotes, mule deers, and of course the little guys, the raccoons, the possums, and some reptiles. But it's also a trail that has some poison oak, so always try to be mindful and careful of that.
I've had a brush with poison oak, and never again, never again.
Yeah, it doesn't, I've seen pictures, I've heard it doesn't sound very fun. I've
Now,
also done Santiago Oak in the area. You get a nice view of the Santa Ana Mountains out there, and that's one of my favorite. I used to go out there a lot with my pup. It was like one of our main hikes, and that has many, many trails. I wish I could really get into detail of where it takes you, but it's like miles and miles of trails that you can go on.
that's incredible. And, you've done an amazing job showcasing the different diversity in landscapes in and around your local hiking trails, from some really lush mountaintops to some desert landscapes. As we get into the spring hiking season, is there a hike or a region that you're looking forward to exploring?
There's one hike I haven't done in a while, but when I did do it, it was very green and lush and just beautiful. It's called Los Pinos Peak in the Santa Ana Mountains, but it's a pretty straightforward trail, and you have like 360 views all around, and it just gets very beautiful and colorful during the season. So that's definitely one of my favorites, as well as, again, Santiago Oaks. And it's a nature center. So, they have a station there where you can go and check out different things, get more information on the many trails that's offered. So one of my favorites as well is called Turtle Rock in Irvine. And it's colorful as well. Right now it's a little, more of a dry season, but those pretty much are my top, I'd say, here in Orange County.
And is there an ideal time to visit Southern California?
That is a great question. Because it's always kind of a little off and on. I honestly really enjoy hiking in the heat, which I know is kind of crazy. I know a lot of my friends do prefer more of the cold, which is great too. I just get cold so fast, but I really do like hiking anywhere between like where we're at now, April to like September, November. I just feel like there's a lot of color, around in the areas and the trails. And then, of course, we get some of the snow, which is always lovely.
I've always known that the mountains in and around Los Angeles got snow, but I thought it was just like a little bit of dusting, but that's not the case.
Yeah, I want to say this year has been one of the most, when we talk about snow, some of the most we've gotten. And it's actually, I did my first snow hike this year with a friend, Johnny. We went out to Tequila Peak by the San Jacinto area. And I got to tell you, that was a good about 10-miler round trip. And we got to this, it was like a fire lookout. And once we got up there, kind of climbed up those stairs. The views are amazing from there as well. But the snow was beautiful. We really didn't expect as much as that snow that we got, but it started literally right at the trailhead. We had to put our micro spikes on from the very beginning. We were really, pleasantly surprised when we got there.
Yeah, I would have never thought that I would need to pack micro spikes when visiting Southern California. But yeah, the amount of snow you guys get, like, it's almost to the point where you can definitely snowshoe some of those upper elevation trails.
Yes, I have yet to snowshoe, but it is very important. This year I've been part of watching 3 lives regarding safety in the winter, especially because, if we talk about safety, a lot of people are out doing Mount Baldy.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most dangerous trails and peaks you could do, especially if you're going like up Devil's Backbone. But there's a lot of mountaineering as well right now. And the lives I watched, they did a really great job in educating, when you need micro spikes, and when you need to have your axe and everything. And it's just so important to be so prepared for these conditions because, they've said you want to go and enjoy your moment, but you also want to come back alive.
Oh, exactly. And Mother Nature can always turn a dime and give you some surprises. But if you're prepared, it definitely helps alleviate some of those tense moments.
Yeah, definitely. I still, even though I've been doing this for a while, I can tell you that there are many moments where it's so humbling. And I really am back to this place of like, okay, I thought I knew. There's just so much to learn. There's just constantly, it's just a learning experience. And I think that's one of the greatest things we have in the community. You have people in different stages from beginner to advanced, and you can just really learn so much.
It's a really great thing that the community is doing out there for folks that want to get into hiking or even just advance where they're at right now.
Exactly. I always like to share the story of pretty much how I started because, I started really low mileage, short trails, like by the coastal areas, by the beach, and I started with a fanny pack and a water bottle. Didn't really know how I was supposed to properly pack to make sure I was taken care of and safe and even on solo hikes, I do a lot of group hikes now, not solo hikes, not so much, but there's just so much to learn when it comes to how to properly pack so that you're safe. So that's something to always be mindful of.
One thing that comes up frequently in your feed are some amazing summit pictures during sunset hikes. You have been able to capture some amazing colors throughout some of these sunset hikes. Do you have any favorite peaks in and around SoCal that you like to frequent or do sunset hikes on?
If we're talking peak, I'm going to take it back to I think it was 2017 or 2018 when I did one of my very first big sunset hikes to a peak. It was Cucamonga Peak. You start at Ice House, the Ice House Trail, and that's your way up. And that, I got to tell you, we started, you start a little later in the day to get up there by, I think we got there by 5 or 6 p.m. We got a little bit of rain, which was pretty cool. It was about 5, 10 minutes. You always want to gauge also the safety factor of everything. We were lucky enough that it was very light for that period of time. But Cucamonga Peak was one of the most beautiful sunsets I've ever seen in my life. I still have a lot to go and many more peaks to summit. And, so hopefully I get a little more of that in on my journey. I would love to try to summit Mount Baldy for a sunset hike. So that would probably be the next one on my list.
I'm really glad you bring up Mount Baldy again because that's another place that comes up frequently in your feed. And I feel like it holds a special place in your heart. And like you said, it's one of those destinations that has a ton of trails, but it also has some technical trails that you got to be kind of aware of your surroundings and your limitations. For you, can you share a little bit about your experiences on Mount Baldy and what kind of keeps you coming back to its trail systems?
Yeah, definitely. You're absolutely right. It does have a special place in my heart. It's actually the first mountain I summited. And I used to be part of an all-women's hiking group back in 2015. And I led hikes for 2 years with them, Girls Who Hike. I know a lot of women in the community, they've started their own group as well from that, or, they're still joining all the other women's safe groups out there. So that's really awesome. But yeah, I got a lot of my, I want to say, education and experience starting off there. And they did an event one year. It was probably in 2016, 2015. And it was called Climb for Heroes with an organization called the Heroes Project. And it was just us women. And we got to raise money for wounded veterans. And we summited Mount Baldy together. So that was kind of our ticket in. And along the way, they set up stations where you get coins and you get to meet veterans who have summited like Mount Whitney or just, some of the tallest peaks in the world. It's quite an experience. And I want to say I've summited Mount Baldy already about 4 to 5 times. And the majority of those summits, if not all, have been with the Heroes Project for Climb for Heroes. That's actually how I started my group. I think that's why it's so special to me to keep going back. And, I definitely go there to train for the event every year. But because of that event and doing that with the girls, I started hiking on purpose because I wanted to have a co-ed team because I have friends who are or were in the military and I wanted to bring this to them as well. So one year I just decided hey, I'm going to start my own group, make it co-ed so that they can join as well, the men. And one day just kind of sitting around trying to think of a group name to make my team, Hiking on Purpose, popped up. And I was like, hey, I think that's our start. That's what we're going to go with. And I mean, I can tell you right now that I never imagined HOP would be what it is today. I thought it was just going to be a group I'd get together every year for this event. And little by little, people started watching and asking when I was doing my next hike or next group hike and that they would like to join. And then from there, I guess it was just word of mouth. And, people just continued to learn about us and the cause. And it branched out to so much more after that.
That's one thing that I feel that Southern California, the hiking scene is really special because there are so many great organizations and groups that are putting together group hikes for all levels. Everyone's, that I've interacted with has been really welcoming, good vibes, and just the work that you guys are doing down there is incredible to get people from all walks of life out on the trails and enjoying the outdoors. You've mentioned that you've did solo hiking and now with Hiking on Purpose, doing these group experiences. What are some of the differences that you've noticed between, your solo hiking and then the group hiking experiences?
To be quite honest, I feel like I get a lot further with the group. Sometimes I think out there on my own, it's really easy to doubt how far I can get, how much of the trail I can do. I second guess myself. And of course, the whole safety factor too. I think it's really important to have someone with you if it's one other person or group of people just in case something happens. But I think that for me, my biggest struggle between solo hiking and group hiking is more of like the limitations I do place on myself sometimes. And when I'm with a group, we just really help see each other through. And, I had an injury also a couple years ago, and I fractured 3 to 4 bones in my right foot, severely sprained my ankle. I couldn't walk basically for like 2 years. And so that kept me off the trail. And upon coming back, one of the biggest decisions I did make was just try to stick with the group because, God forbid anything happens, I'd at least have the help to get back.
And you've been able to share some really amazing group experiences on the Hiking on Purpose Instagram. Can you share with our listeners some of those group hikes that you've done in the past that kind of stick out for you?
To start, a little short hike, but it's such a goodie. Talking, a little earlier about sunset, Topanga Lookout into the Santa Monica area. One of my favorite hikes. Pretty much when you get there, it's about 2 miles round trip. The platform is, it's graffiti, but it's art. And it changes every once in a while. So it's like literally never the same every time I go back. The art is always different. But the surrounding mountains, just almost like you're in a painting once you look at your pictures. And once you hit that sunset, I gotta tell you, it's like one of the most beautiful places out in the area that I've ever been to. Yeah, another one we've done for group hikes, Mount Baldy. I'm just gonna tell you right now, it's definitely one of my favorite group hikes. You can take a trail from the ski lift parking lot up to the top of the notch, which many people may not know. The top of the notch is a restaurant. So you do like a little 5 miler and you reach the restaurant. You can have coffee, have a beer, enjoy a meal together, get the great views. And you can even continue up to the Devil's Backbone, which is kind of midway to the summit. And then if conditions are safe, head to the top after you fill your bellies with some good food.
Oh man, I feel like more trails need to have that. A little pit stop with a restaurant.
So, out in the area, we recently did a new one. My first peak of the year was Sutter Peak. And kind of crazy because that day we went for the group hike. I did a collaboration with 2 of my friends, John from Possum Adventures and Patty from Jaime Gente Hermosa. Our plan was to actually take a group to the top of the notch for just a nice little hike and hangout. But plans changed because it's ski and snowboarding season, so it was unsafe for us to hike up. It literally was a no-go. So we ended up doing the San Antonio Falls, which is the waterfall in the area. Really, really short hike, but beautiful, especially with the snow around. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we were like, okay, plan B, we're going to hit a peak. So we did Stoddard and a little rocky towards the end, maybe very rocky towards the end, like the last 20, 30 minutes. But the views were definitely awesome. You could look out to the right and see the snow-covered mountains in the area. I'm pretty sure it was Mount Baldy, but then close by, I believe there was also Strawberry Peak, which I have yet to do. So that's definitely on my list.
How tall is Mount Baldy? Because it's up there in elevation, isn't it?
Yes, so it's the highest point in LA. It's I've noted 10,064 feet.
Wow.
Yeah, so elevation gain is pretty nice. It's 400 feet of climbing, and it's approximately 11 miles, give or take, and it can be like a 7-hour day for that.
Oh my goodness. Full day.
Yeah, for sure. The cool thing is if the ski lifts are running, you can always take the ski lift up to the notch. And from the notch, you can start your trek up to past the Devil's Backbone and then head up to the summit. So it cuts a couple of miles or like 5-ish miles, I want to say. But there's different ways to get up there as well. You can take the ski lift up, which I hear is a bit more of a challenging hike. I've done the ski lift to the hut, which it's a very good hike. I want to say it's on the shorter end of the miles, maybe 5. Anybody who's listening can correct me if I'm wrong, but it takes you to a hut. I mean, those views are equally very, very beautiful. But again, with any trail, especially what I know from the Mount Baldy area, make sure you're prepared. Definitely have your microspike and just always pay attention to the weather. You want to make sure you have everything you need to get there safely, get back safely. And something I always say is like, if you have to turn around, the mountains will always be there.
Yeah, the trail will always be there. Now, for folks that are listening to this and are from Southern California, or maybe it's individuals that are going to be visiting Southern California this year, how can folks get involved with Hiking on Purpose?
So, they can definitely find us on Instagram under Hiking on Purpose, words all together. I'm actually working on a Facebook account right now too. I've had some recommendations to try to get more connections there. So, that's something I'm definitely looking into. But yeah, you can find us on Instagram. And the cool thing is, in connection with us, you just scroll through our following list and everything, you'll find so many other groups in the community as well. So I like to bring light to my hiking group, but I also love to bring light to the other hiking groups in the community that are doing an amazing job as well.
I will say that's another beautiful thing that you guys have going on in Southern California is the collaborative hikes between groups. It's
Yeah.
really beautiful to see different groups coming together to bring both of their communities to become one on the trail. It's an awesome sight to see.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite things. If I can give a little shout out, I've done a few too with We Explore Earth. Will's the founder of that group, and their adventures are, if you like ours, you're gonna love theirs because they just recently did a trip to Yosemite, like a 3-day trip. Very lucky because it was before the storm hit. They're going to be doing a Joshua Tree all-day trip coming up. So yeah, I'm like, ours compared to what they're doing, it's kind of chill, but there's experiences with every group that you can enjoy. There's a group for everybody, and I just encourage everyone to really get out there. Being out in nature is good for you physically, but also for your overall health.
Yeah, emotionally, physically, mentally, it really helps out in all levels. We're still at the start of 2024, and I know that a lot of the groups like to plan out their season, sometimes, half the year. What's in store for Hiking on Purpose in 2024?
One of the most recent things I've shared in the beginning of the year is that I am getting back into my all women's events. So that's something I'm really trying to focus on this year. The last few years, it's been co-ed, which I love, but I feel like in my heart, I just needed to lean a little more into my women's events. So we recently did like a meditation Reiki hike out in Topanga Lookout, and that was very successful. I led the meditation. My friend Sophia led the Reiki portion. It was, it's a really great time to dig deep and connect, and there's a lot of healing that happened. And at the end of this month, I am doing an event with an award-winning speaker named Nicole. She's a CEO of Girls Fight Back. She has many stories and adventures solo hiking, and she's also going to be teaching us some self-defense techniques. But along with that, I just want to, keep focus on providing an environment where, anybody and everybody can come and join, men and women, and eventually maybe get into also having hikes where we can have, the younger kids come out and enjoy nature as well with their family.
Yeah, I'm all about getting the next generation out on the trails. Now, I have been a longtime solo hiker, and I got a chance to experience Southern California group hike with Justin from Just Trek and Juan from Outdoors Adventure Plus. And that was the first time I've ever experienced a group hike like that. I think it was like over 40 people came out that day. Do you have any tips or advice for solo hikers or maybe new hikers who are interested in joining a group hike in their community but might have a little bit of apprehension? Because I totally had an amazing time. I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, like, they got down. A lot of these groups bring in a good amount of people. They definitely, have it going on and provide such a beautiful environment. But I would say, I think one of the biggest and most important things when you're starting out, ask questions. Definitely ask questions. Someone I can recommend to look out for in the community, the hiking guy, thehikingguy.com is a really great website to get your feet wet. I really love how he introduces trails and the mileage and if it's easy, moderate, or difficult. And he's also very visual, so I really appreciate that he has pictures of the trail for like the main spot. And I've done many hikes or whatever hikes I've done in the past on my own is because I've been able to really navigate with his help. I would also recommend AllTrails. It's like a GPS system for you on the trail, but always do your research as well. I think that's one of the most important things. Make sure you know where you're going. If you need any help with like just starting out, what you need in your backpack, meals, tools, whatever it may be, you can even go to stores like REI sports basement. But I think it's really important to connect with people who have been in the game a little longer, even asking questions on social media. I think it's really important, and just get your bucket of knowledge, start getting that filled so that you can definitely be safe out on the trails and confident in where you're going.
I love that. Now, here on the podcast, we like to do a segment where we do a deep dive into our guests' Instagram account and ask them about a picture or a location that captures our attention. And for me, it was Pumpkin Rock because I've never heard of it. But then once I saw the picture of it, it's definitely on my bucket list next time I'm in Southern California to be able to go see this. Can you share a little bit about your experiences hiking to Pumpkin Rock and then also what Pumpkin Rock is?
Yeah, Pumpkin Rock. I came across that a few years ago, and it's in Norco. And it's very popular for the season of Halloween because it's literally this big, huge boulder painted orange as a pumpkin. You know, it's got the features, the eyes, that smile, and everything. Very visible from the highway as well. And it looks like it was, for my research, it was painted and created in the mid 1990s. And according to hikingguide.com, here we go. He said two locals repainted it after it was covered with graffiti. And this hike is about 1.2 miles round trip. I also think it's a shorty but goodie, you know, a bit of that incline. And there's a couple ways to get up to the Pumpkin Rock, literally just a left or a right. But it's a great hike for, you know, families if they do want to go up there for a nice little hike of the day or something to do during that season, just to up the fun a little bit, get some really, you know, creative pictures. I know a lot of people go up there with the pumpkin heads and take a picture with the pumpkin heads next to the rock. So that's always pretty fun to see on social media in October. The only thing I will say is you got to be really careful around the area. There are a lot of rocks. People will climb them and everything, but there's a lot of glass, unfortunately, a lot of trash. Last year, something I did with We Explore Earth, we did a cleanup. They do that a lot. So I was very grateful to be able to go and experience the cleanup and have the community together and involved. So we always push for that. You know, you want to keep the trails clean, but yeah, this hike in Norco, pretty popular for Halloween, and I would definitely recommend it as one of the most Instagrammable areas, I guess you can go to.
And I love that it's a shorty but a goodie. You know, you get your little exercise in, you get your picture with the rock, and then you can make it back down.
Exactly. It's definitely good to work those legs and glutes, I'll tell you that.
Now, you know, talking about Halloween and, you know, people dress up for Pumpkin Rock. One thing I did notice is that you've dressed up for some hikes as well. Do you have any theme hikes planned, or maybe what are some of your more memorable theme hikes where you did dress up in the past?
You know, that's so funny. I haven't really done any other than a few years ago at Pumpkin Rock, and we did a little dress up. It was a small group of us for that hike. Maybe I think it was like 4 or 5 of us women. I went as Rosie the Riveter. So that was a pretty cool little outfit I got to put together. And then last year with the cleanup with We Explorers, I went as a cat, you know, just something something simple. But you know, thinking about it now, it's always a fun time when I see the other groups doing it. I might have to definitely put that in the books for this year.
I feel like hikers, especially day hikers and even some backpackers, they have a regular summit routine, or maybe it's a end of the hike routine. For some, it's their favorite snack or drink. For others, it's just a moment of zen. And then for a few, it's a favorite meal afterwards. Do you have a regular custom or routine that you do when you reach your destination, or maybe when you make it back out?
Yeah, once back at the car, I think one of the biggest things we all like to do when we remember is get those boots off. Get those boots off, put on your nice comfy shoes or sandals, whatever it may be. But honestly, I'm just always so hyped afterwards. I spend a lot of time just reminiscing on the day's events and just being really grateful. I think I really sit in gratitude more than really thinking of going to have a meal afterwards, because I've forgotten to do that a couple of times. I'm like, yeah, that's not the best thing. But for me, really just sitting in gratitude after the day's event, no matter how long or short the trail was, even if I had to turn back, I'm just very grateful that I'm able to get out there. You know, after experience of a period of time where I couldn't do this for 2 years, it feels really good. And I'm grateful every day to be able to walk the trails, hike the trails, and be in community with everybody. So gratitude for me, sitting in that after every hike, is the best part.
Thank you so much for sharing about your experience of not being able to be on the trail. I think a lot of us we seek the trail when there's difficulties, and not being able to hit the trails, especially for an extended period of time like you did, would be tough. But you've definitely come back stronger than ever. You're back on the trails hosting these group events. So it's really great to be able to see you come back and stronger than ever.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And something I learned within that time frame, because I was sharing my story as well, with rehab and everything. I learned that the community of people who have had an injury or, a surgery that has prevented them from coming back for a bit, it's a really big community. And there are so many people who are afraid to get back out there. And that was me. Like, I never thought that that would happen to me, but once in it, it's such a humbling experience. And I got to come back with this reset and really focus on the individuals who are scared to come back. I just want to provide a space where they know they can come out and enjoy the trails like everybody else and, get the miles in, get those peaks. And we really try to do our best to, it's that motto, no man left behind. We will take as long as we need to take to try to get everybody safely together, to that end point and back safely. So it was really beautiful to see how the community came together. My friends came together to be very supportive during that time. And for everyone also who has shared their story of, their injury or their fear of coming back after, it's been really inspiring. So, I can definitely tell you that these stories of everyone else really pushes me to keep doing what I'm doing, so that, I don't know, it just adds a little more joy to my life and to their life out in nature.
I honestly believe that folks that might find themselves in a similar situation will find inspiration from your story, and to see you thriving back on the trails, it's just great to see.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Now, one thing I'm always curious about when it comes to interviewing hikers is we all have different pack lists. Some go ultralight, some pack the kitchen sink. When it comes to your pack list, is there a luxury item that you tend to pack more frequently that maybe falls outside of the essentials?
Ooh, I definitely have my first aid kit. You got to have your headlamp outside of the essentials. I think one of the most recent things that I started carrying that I've never carried before are micro spikes. Like, those things will stay in my backpack for every single trek, rain or shine. I think that they're going to be a staple for me just to keep in there, because you just never know.
I mean, personally, I found myself on trails where I needed micro spikes to continue. And it was one of those things I wish I would have packed them, because I could have continued on the trail. But unfortunately, I didn't. I had to turn back around, especially if you're hiking in snow covered regions. You just never know. And I think that's a great packlist item to have with you. Now, for the rest of 2024, do you have any hiking or travel goals for the rest of the year?
Well, I am definitely starting my traveling next month. I'll be going to Miami for the first time. So that's going to be exciting. I'll probably hit the beach one time out of that week, but I'm really looking forward to seeing, what Miami has to offer. I'm also hoping to go visit my cousin in Mexico City, and she has these really cool spots with like these caves, and oh my gosh, I can't remember what they're called in Spanish, but these caves with that beautiful, just colorful, clear water.
Oh, cenotes.
Cenotes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I've never been. I'm really looking forward to that. But if I can share with you, like, my dream little trip I would love to do is to visit Guatemala. The last time I went was when I was 5 years old, and I remember it so vividly because I just fell in love with it. And that's actually when I had my first hike when I was 5 years old. My dad's from Guatemala. I just remember being surrounded by trees and this flowing river, and we were sitting on rocks taking pictures. I was with my sisters and my cousin, and it was just such a beautiful time. We were met with by this family who lives in the mountains, and they invited us for dinner or lunch, I want to say. We had some black beans, definitely remember the black beans, but they were just so kind. And that's one of my very first memories of being out in nature. So I'm hoping to make a trip to Guatemala at some point this year, Mexico, and then we'll see how Miami is. I'll have to update you on that one.
I'm excited to see your posts from your trips. It's going to be a great 2024 for you.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. And if we're talking peace, I really hope that I can get back to Cucamonga this year. I think that would just be something that, kind of redeem myself a little bit after being out.
Now, that was it for the regular questions. This last portion of the podcast is the this or that questions, but it's 10 questions, and you just choose which one you prefer out of the two.
Okay, let's do it.
So the first one is, do you prefer a steep incline or steep decline?
Steep incline for sure.
And how about waterfalls or summits?
Summit.
Now, when it comes to trail systems, do you prefer a trail with switchbacks or just straight up?
Oh man, I have a love and hate relationship with switchbacks, but I think it makes it a little more exciting. So switchback.
And then this was always a favorite of mine, but do you use trekking poles or do you prefer being freehand?
Before my injury, I was 100% freehand. After my injury, trekking poles are my new best friend.
And then when it comes to your footwear, do you prefer trail runners or hiking boots?
Hiking boots for sure. That ankle coverage, highly needed for me.
And then another trail system question, loop trail or an out and back trail?
You know, I think I really enjoy my out and back trails.
And here's one of the new ones. When it comes to water, do you have a water bottle or a Camelback?
I have both. But preference, my Camelback. Yeah, there's certain hikes. If it's a little shorter, or if I skip cleaning my hydration pack for the night, I go with my water bottle.
And then I think I know the answer to this one, but you might surprise me. Sunset hikes or sunrise hikes?
Sunset, 100%.
And when it comes to seasons, do you prefer spring wildflowers or fall colors?
Oh, I gotta tell you, fall colors won my heart this year at Ice House, so fall colors.
Oh, okay. And then the last one is a new one. Do you prefer a long, gradual hike or a short and steep hike?
Long and gradual hike.
Well, that was it for the this or that questions. For folks that want to follow your adventures this year on social media, what are some of the social media handles they can follow both you and your hiking group?
Yeah, so we're basically just stuck with our Instagram for now. So you can find us on @hikingonpurpose, words all together, no underscore, just hiking on purpose. I know a lot of people confuse it with hiking with purpose, but hiking on purpose.
And we'll be sure to link those in the episode show notes so people can check you out. Yvonne, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed speaking with you, and I look forward to seeing what 2024 has to offer for you.
Thank you so much, Ivan. I really appreciate you for your time, and thank you.
And that brings us to the end of this episode alongside Yvonne. We extend our heartfelt thanks to her for coming on the podcast. Make sure to stay connected and follow her upcoming adventures on Instagram at THEVONN3ONLY. And don't forget to check out the episode show notes to find out more about her amazing hiking group, Hiking on Purpose, and many others. We have an incredible lineup of episodes planned throughout the spring months, and we can't wait to share them with you. New episodes will be dropping every Monday with occasional bonus episodes on Fridays. To ensure you never miss out on those thrilling tales, remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to join our vibrant community on Instagram @HikesandMikes. We'll be sharing episode visuals, my own personal hiking content, and so much more. Let's stay connected and continue to inspire each other on this remarkable journey. As we bid farewell, remember to tread those happy trails, embrace the great outdoors, and keep the spirit of adventure alive. Until next time, my fellow explorers, happy hiking. This episode's music was created by Ketsa. Follow him on Instagram @KetsaMusic. This episode is brought to you by Flip Socks. Whether you're on the trail, on the job, or in the yard, Flip Socks will keep Mother Nature out of your boots with their innovative nylon sleeve. You no longer need to worry about any annoying debris getting trapped in your boots during your hikes. Simply flip down the nylon sleeve over any boot to prevent Mother Nature from finding its way inside, keeping your feet comfortable all day long. To get your first pair, visit flipsocks.com and enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And for listeners who use the promo code at checkout, I'll be donating 100% of the Season 2 promo code proceeds to Big City Mountaineers, who provide transformative experiences through connections to nature that strengthen life skills and build community for youth and disinvested communities across the nation. So if you're tired of bits and pieces of the trail finding its way into your hiking boots, pick up a pair of Flip Socks today with the promo code HikesMikes10 to get 10% off. For website and promo code, see the episode description.